Hey, what's up guys? Today, I'll show you a supernatural horror film, May the Devil Take You, Part 1. Spoilers ahead, watch out and take care. One day at a remote villa, a father stares blankly at his family photo. Then someone knocks at his door. As he opens the door, he is greeted by a lady who he welcomes inside. The lady then heads to the cellar of his house. There, the lady is revealed to be a priestess, and she starts preparing for a satanic ritual. She puts down a goat's head in the circle, and she asks the father if he brought the final ingredient for the ritual. So the father opens his suitcase, which contains cash and a lock of hair. He gives it to the priestess, and she puts it in her mouth. After putting most of it in her mouth, she feeds some of it to the father, and she burns the money. Soon after that, she grabs his arm and slices his palm, which starts the ritual. The priestess begins floating off the ground. Then the father closes his eyes and swears an oath to Satan. Suddenly, the room starts filling up with cash, and the goat's head transforms into a full goat. Shortly after, the priestess informs the father that his oath to Satan has been accepted. She also tells him that in his home, more wealth is waiting for him. So the father rushes back home, excited for his newfound wealth. News on paper speaks of the father's rise to fame as a businessman. However, one of the news also shows that his wife committed suicide, and he marries a former actress right after that. Then the father's business suddenly declines to the point of bankruptcy. After showing the news of the family's financial downfall, we see his daughter, Alfie, traveling on a train. There, a man is seen molesting Alfie, and as revenge, Alfie steals his wallet. As she moves away from the man, the lights on the train suddenly blackouts. Meanwhile, a ghost is seen stalking Alfie. As the lights return, she gets a call telling her to come to the hospital. The following moment, at the hospital's elevator, she notices the ghost's presence, but when she looks at it, it disappears. Shortly after, Alfie arrives at the hospital room. There she meets her step-siblings, and they head inside to see their father. Their father is in a coma because of a mysterious illness. She learns from her stepsister Maya that after their father's bankruptcy, he has started revisiting the villa before being sent to hospital. And because of that, now the stepmother is going to search the villa for any assets that could be sold to help the family. As her step-siblings leave her alone with her father, Alfie shows hostility to the father. It seems that she got alienated from her father's new family after her mother died. Alfie expresses her hatred, and the light suddenly turns off. Then her father wakes up and grabs her hand tightly while looking behind her. When Alfie turns around, she sees the ghost behind the curtains. The ghost is approaching her, so she tries to run away, but her father is holding onto her arm. The ghost disappears as it removes the curtain. Suddenly, it shows up at her father's bed and attacks her. Alfie defends herself, and the ghost disappears again. After she calms down, the lights come back on, and her father suddenly wakes up and grabs her. Her step-siblings hear the commotion, so they try to stop their father. Shortly after, the father pukes out blood, while Alfie's stepbrother, Ruben, tries to subdue him. Then the father collapses when he lands and pukes on the stepbrother's girlfriend. After that incident, the father goes back to his sickbed, and Alfie's stepmother arrives at the hospital. There she approaches Alfie and greets her before leaving for their trip to the villa. That night, Alfie sees a dream where her mother gets attacked by an unseen force. Also in that dream, we see Alfie holding onto her mother, which ends up giving her the scars on her arm. Suddenly, her sleep is interrupted when thunder wakes her up. She closes the window that opened because of the storm. Just then, Alfie notices her mother's picture and decides to go to the villa. As she arrives at the villa, she sees her father's strange charms and totems. She also finds many of those charms at the cellar door. However, when she tries to open it, it wouldn't budge. After that, Alfie checks out her bedroom. There, she looks at the mirrors and sees a child in the reflection. The child is revealed to be Nara, Alfie's youngest stepsister. Alfie follows her and learns that her stepmother and step-siblings are going to stay at the villa. Later that evening, Alfie's stepmother explains that they're trying to sell the house. This leads to an argument between Alfie and her stepmother, because Alfie believes that she is selling the house only for her benefit. Then Alfie walks out of the dining room after proving her point. In her bedroom, she looks at a book she keeps close to her as a memento. She hides it as Ruben enters the room and comforts her. He also asks Alfie to give their family a chance to connect with her. Alfie accepts his request, and they both head downstairs. Meanwhile, Alfie looks around the other rooms, and Meyer orders Ruben to crack open the cellar door, thinking there are valuables inside to be sold. While Ruben is trying to open the door, Alfie discovers an ominous sight where her childhood picture is found with dolls and a strange goat doll. Just then, Ruben successfully opens the door, but instead of valuables, he unleashes an unseen supernatural presence. This presence passes through the family members. Then the presence reaches the father at the hospital, and he suddenly grows huge balls of hair out of his mouth to the point of crushing his skull with it. Meanwhile, back at the villa, the stepmother demands that they head down to the cellar for valuables. The stepmother thinks that she's only hiding the valuables. Suddenly, Nara notices a hand clutching her mother's leg and warns her. Just then, the hand pulls her mother into the dark cellar, but the siblings couldn't stop it. Maya freaks out and calls out to her mother. Suddenly, Maya gets attacked by their possessed mother. Alfie tries to push away her possessed stepmother from Maya and hits the stepmother with a hammer. However, it only stuns her and forces her to retreat. Before leaving, the possessed stepmother tells them that they're Satan's due souls for the price of their father's wealth. After that incident, Ruben treats Maya's wounds. Nara picks up a doll that she saw outside from the room where Alfie found her picture. This concerns Maya, but Ruben tells them to focus on their escape. Then, Alfie and Ruben head to the car. Unfortunately, the car was sabotaged, making them stranded at the villa during a storm. Having no means of escape, Alfie suggests that Ruben find a way to call for help. Meanwhile, Alfie and Maya plan to go to a nearby village to treat Maya's injuries. As they walk through the forest, they spot their possessed mother, so they hide in the bush. After that, Alfie volunteers to sneak attack her possessed stepmother. However, her stepmother disappears and Maya finds Alfie's book. Maya demands answers as she sees herself and her family being crossed out in a picture inside the book. This makes her paranoid as she starts doubting Alfie. Thinking she might get killed by Alfie, Maya runs away from her and heads deep into the forest. Alfie fails to catch up to her as she trips and loses sight of Maya. Meanwhile, Ruben calls for help and manages to call his girlfriend. He then asks her for help to pick them up at their location. However, before he fully explains their situation, the phone dies. Fortunately, their location is sent, and they just have to wait for help. Ruben comforts Nara since she is scared, and he notices that her fingers are bloody. Just then, Alfie arrives and explains to Ruben that Maya saw her book. Alfie also shows him the book, where she explains her hatred for her step-family. However, the truth is, the pictures that she crossed out were just out of her desire to bring back her old family. Ruben understands her point, and after that, they both return to the room where Alfie found a picture of her when she was young. After looking around for clues, she learns of how her father gained his wealth through a satanic ritual, at the cost of sacrificing those around him. Alfie then recalls the dream where her mother dies from an unseen force and realizes it because of the ritual's pact. It's revealed that after her mother's death, the father tries to seal the cellar to prevent the pact from taking his family's souls. However, because he betrayed the pact, it led to him getting his mysterious illness and dying by the presence. Then, the presence continues to torment the family as per the agreement of the pact. Meanwhile, in the forest, Maya wanders around. Suddenly, she gets attacked by her possessed mother. Fortunately, Maya wins against her, but her mother eventually succumbs to the presence's influence. After the fight, a piece of the presence leaves her mother's body and heads back to the villa. There, the mysterious presence arrives in a room where Nara stays. It then calls out to her from a closet in the voice of her mother. Nara approaches it and gets startled when a face pops up as she opens it. Luckily, it is only a painting and Nara heads back to sleep. However, this time, the presence disguises as Nara's mother. Then, it tries to pull her under the bed. Alfie and Ruben hear Nara's screams and manage to help Nara as they struggle against the presence. Suddenly, Alfie faints and a full vision of her dream where her mother dies appears in her mind. The next day, the stepbrother's girlfriend gets stuck on the road to the villa. She calls Ruben, but he doesn't answer. Just then, the girlfriend is surprised by Maya. She notices that Maya is acting strange, and she can see Maya hiding a hammer in her side view mirror. Suddenly, Maya breaks into the girlfriend's car. She murders the girlfriend, and after that, Maya is led by the presence back to the villa. There, Maya sees paranormal activities and figures of Satan in the villa. Then the presence leads her into the cellar where she finds a set of dolls with hairs of each of her family members, including Alfie. Then the creepy presence invites her to become a satanic priestess, which will acquire the souls of her family. Maya accepts her role and begins planning to attack her siblings. At that time, Alfie wakes up from her vision. She wanders around the villa and spots her mother. However, her mother suddenly acts strange and begins to haunt her. Alfie's mother then starts telling her that their souls should have been Satan's. Suddenly, Maya snaps Alfie out of the illusion. Later that evening, Alfie tells Ruben they should leave because their souls are the payment in exchange for their father's wealth. However, Maya suddenly turns and reveals herself as the new satanic priestess. Just then, the house starts rumbling. and Maya tells them they cannot leave since they are their father's payments. Ruben asks Maya to let them go. However, he gets chased by the presence inside Maya. After a while, Maya asks Ruben to join her as her lover, which Satan allows, but Ruben refuses. Then Maya begins breaking Ruben's voodoo doll made from his hair, which breaks Ruben's limbs correspondingly. After killing Ruben, Maya drives Nara to the cellar. Alfie chases after her, but is stopped by Maya with Alfie's voodoo doll. While using the doll, Maya slams Alfie to the ground several times, which causes her to lose consciousness. After a while, Alfie wakes up and sees a past vision of her father. In that vision, it's revealed that her father betrays and kills the satanic priestess for his family. However, before the priestess dies, she takes and swallows a strand of the father's hair, so as to curse him with a mysterious illness and gruesome death. After hearing the curse, the father buries the priestess under the cellar floor and seals off the room. Soon after, the vision ends and Alfie sees Nara. She realizes that the creepy presence was actually the original priestess. Alfie tries to break the priestess' influence from Maya. However, the presence tells her it's too late as they have already merged into one. The possessed Maya then begins torturing Alfie with the voodoo doll. Fortunately, Alfie retaliates as she manages to get Maya's doll and throws it into the flames, causing the possessed Maya to be burnt in a big fire. After the fight, Alfie checks on Nara, and she realizes that she needs to destroy her father's hair in the presence's corpse so as to end the curse forever. She digs up the place where the corpse is found. Shortly after, she burns the hair, but the corpse suddenly drags her underground, submerging her. Later, Alfie wakes up to find that she is in a pit full of hair. She struggles to get out of the pit, and suddenly she sees her mother reach out. As soon as she grabs the hand, she realizes it's Nara who pulled her out and saved her. Now freed, Nara and Alfie escape the villa. However, the camera pans back to the cellar door, indicating that the evil isn't gone yet. This is Daniel CC Movie Channel. Stay safe and enjoy your day.